everyone went home. Maybe they got to spend time with their families, talk to their support groups, and we came back and it just felt like there was a better attitude amongst the group, and we talked a lot, and we just practiced really well, and ball movement, unselfishness, playing hard on defense, not giving in, a lot of the things that we've been doing the last 4 games. So it was nice to see that.
But it wasn't a come to Jesus meeting with the guys. You said this is the way we're doing things.
Coach Kimmer and I talked to the team a lot about a lot of things throughout the course of the year. And yeah, we talked to them about what it's going to take to become a good team and all the things that means, as much as we both know and all the experience we have with that. So I don't know how much that has to do with it, or the guys realize that there's some players in the locker room, and we gotta kind of do it in a more collective way, a more unified way. And I like that there was genuine enthusiasm or excitement for guys that were playing well throughout the last 2 games. Like, we had Jose have a big game on offense, and Frankie, and then we had Jemiah and Adam in another game, and there wasn't any concern about that.
How did it affect you personally?
I mean, are you saying?
Yeah, that night, that Northwestern, that 3 losses in a row. How did you take that?
I mean, it was ugly. How you feel, when something like that happens, and it just is. There's ways that you could lose with honor and a little more dignity than we that we displayed, and so I don't know if that was where I've always said you could always find a new bottom somehow, but maybe that felt like kind of a rock bottom moment.
Well, now you have a chance to kind of make program history with a 5-0 start with this win in Seattle. What do you see in this Huskies team?
I think they're a really good team, really good offensive team. Average 81 points a game. They have quality non-conference wins versus Gonzaga and Xavier, and they're 1-3 in the conference, but all those games are very close games, and 2 of them are on the road in the mountains, which is not an easy place to play. And I just know from playing those 2 teams, they're very good teams. So, I think that they're better than their record in the league, and they're, they have those quality wins. Keon Brooks is one of the best players in the conference. Wheeler is fantastic in the open court, and they got good complementary players. Like Mulcahy's a really good player, play a lot of basketball. Wood is a guy that can make shots. So they have a talented roster. We expect to play a really tough game on Thursday night.
Who do you credit? What do you credit for these 3 come from behind out of the last 4, where you're down by double digits, got to fight back?
It's not uncharted territory for us, just where we've been at certain games this year. We've had practice at it with SMU and UMass Lowell in non-conference. And so I think that there was, especially the Cal game, as we were playing the game, I think there was a part of us that I kept reminding them how fortunate we are to be down 10 or 12, because we're not playing well, and we still were have a chance. So I think we finally were able to kind of turn it on enough to win a game like that. But I think there's guys on the team that have good character, that are willing to fight, and got some tough kids, so I think that helps.
Did you see changes in the player interaction or leadership subsequent to that losing streak?
I felt like there was more cooperation just amongst the core, communicating, embracing each other, and really like just playing in a more unselfish way. And they're all really good players. There's Adam, Jose, Frankie, Jemiah. These guys on their own individually could all make it happen. There has to be a more of a sacrifice, and I think that they were successfully able to do that for this stretch. And I think it's just bringing the group together too, when you have a lot of change and a lot of guys that weren't able to play from the jump, like Adam, and so getting these guys on the floor together, so there's some trust, some chemistry that's built, and then just getting Sean back. And I know he hasn't played major minutes yet, foul trouble in the last game, but having him in the lineup makes us different, and not having him for so long really hurt. So his impact could be made just by his presence, around the basket. It gives us a different look that we don't have when he's not available.
What does getting out to a 4-0 start in Pac-12 play mean? How does that give you just a little more juice, a little more excitement? How does that help?
I mean, it you have to in this league. If you could gain an edge early, it's important. It helps with your confidence. It helps with your belief, and you're not chasing. If you get down under 500 in the league, you feel like you're chasing just to get above water. So it's good to have that cushion, but I mean it's not going to really have a great impact on what's going to happen tomorrow night.
Any news on Zane Meeks or Bryson?
No, Bryson's still working through medical, and I think he's getting closer to rejoining the team, and we're hopeful like after this trip, possibly next week, he could get back to practice, but we're still waiting on final stuff with that. But and Zane is no different than what I had said, just kind of at the moment just out indefinitely.
You're 7-0 at home. What do you credit that to?
I mean, we talked about it a lot in the off season. I said, we were 6-4 on the road last year in the league, and we were 5-5 at home, and that just wasn't going to get it done. And we need to defend our home court better. And there are other leagues that teams won their conference by going the same road record that we had, but going like 8-2 or 9-1 at home or 10-0, and so it matters to take care of business on your home floor.
It was part of the plan, right? The offseason.
I mean, hope. I mean, it doesn't always work out. You have a plan, but it's got to be executed, and the guys so far have done a good job of winning games at home.
It's only January, so maybe this is premature, but do you even look at like what the Ken Palm says about your team or the net and compare to others, and you have your own sort of value system of what shows a good team?
Yeah, I used to invest a lot in that, and I've gotten away from it. I have my own analytics, and we do a lot of work to prepare for our opponent and self scout and do the stuff we need to work on. In that regard, I don't pay a lot of attention to it. I probably paid attention to it more maybe the year that we were 12-0 and we were like sitting almost at the top of Ken Palm, and then maybe now I'm too scared to look, but that's but we're making progress in those things, and hopefully we'll continue to climb the charts as we go through the season.
Will you change your approach to non-conference scheduling, especially going into the Big 12?
I think you got to be a little more careful. I've been very aggressive, and you're going to be playing so many. You go to a 20-game schedule with those type of teams, you're going to be playing a lot of like quad one games. So you may not have to be as tough with it, but you also have to test your team and try and bring a good win or two into your league. So yeah, it'll be a little more balanced, maybe not as aggressive to just to play anybody.
Where are you guys with regard to NIL?
I mean, we're trying, and we're trying to have conversations and be creative and just get the word out about how important it is. And I think new leadership will know that is a priority now, and in our world that we're in, and it has to be. There's no choice. No matter where you are in the Big 12, no matter what program you are, you better have a plan for NIL. It's going to be hard to survive in that type of league without it.
I asked Charlie Baker the other day. He's in town obviously for the convention. I asked him about that. He said there needs to be a framework in his mind. There needs to be some kind of guidance. Do you agree with that in terms of framework for that?
Yeah, I don't know where to go with that. I mean, it's going to take someone a lot smarter than me to figure that one out now because it is a very complicated issue. But I think how to regulate it or not. I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions with that.
Can you talk about Jose Perez and what he brought? Because he seems like he got up to a good start, and he struggled a little bit, and now he's found it in the last few games again.
Yeah, I think he's kind of embodies what I was talking about, just a new guy, didn't play a lot with his team, still developing friendships with his new teammates, kind of dropped into a foreign environment, and now I just feel like even how he's interacting with his teammates on and off the court is different over the last couple of weeks. Just I feel like he looks happier, more comfortable with his teammates, and it's carrying over to what you're seeing on the floor.
What did it mean to you personally to get your 150th win here at ASU?
I mean, I was not something I was thinking about or to like targeting or anything, but it was great to see just the reaction of the guys in the locker room after, and they were happy for me. It was great for my players. my former players. I got a number of text messages on that once they saw it, so that's always kind of what you think about. But yeah, I mean, it was great. Ken Lanfear gave me the game ball, which I took home, and then I said, you know what, the way we shot the ball tonight, that ball will be used again on Saturday, so I brought the ball back, and now Mickey Mitchell is now responsible for making sure that ball is used here, so I'm kind of superstitious about some things.
Coach Adam Miller, you know, he's a good offensive player, but after the Colorado game, he said that he wants to lead this team defensively with his experience, and he wants to be a leader. How have you seen him developing now that he's getting settled in?
Well, it's been great watching him versus Madsen guarding that kid against Utah, and then on different possessions, we could shift him to like a guy like Simpson and give Frankie a breather so he doesn't have to have that matchup the whole way through. And I think Adam wants the challenge. He accepts the challenge of that, and he's physical, he's athletic, he's very smart. So it's all the things that you hope for at the end of the floor for a guy.
You mentioned on the radio yesterday about maybe losing up to 3 players, partly related to NIL or largely. Was that something that led to a change in perspective that you maybe had about the things that you have to prioritize with what you're doing, or had you already been evolving to that position?
I'm sorry, Chris. Could you kind of repeat it?
Yeah. Did you expect? I mean, you had the NCAA tournament season. You lost multiple players.
Yeah.
Was that like unexpected? Was that something that led to a change of what you might feel like you have to prioritize with what you're doing?
Yeah, I think, if you're in my situation now, you have to find the diamonds in the rough, and you better be good at it to try and locate a guy like Sean Phillips that, his stats were very low, and he's a guy that has long-term potential that you could develop. So that's going to be a part of our responsibilities, but certainly it gave me more urgency to have these conversations, to know that, yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, I'd love to see Warren Washington here and Sean Phillips backing him up for 1 year, and then Sean becoming the guy next year. That was my vision. It didn't work out because, Warren's going to make his own decisions, and I'm not going to say why exactly he chose to make his decision, but we didn't have the NIL in place to make sure that we brought everyone that we wanted to bring back.
Coach, Washington leads the conference in free throw attempts per game. With the aggressive style of defense that you guys play, is keeping the Huskies off the free throw line like a big point of concern going into this one?
Yeah, we've been very good at not fouling, using our aggression, but still being smart about it. Certainly, Wheeler, we got to control him. He's their engine, really pushes the ball. They're very good at transition. And then, Brooks is a physical driver, very athletic, and he gets himself to the free throw line. They got great size around the basket. So all those things are reasons that they are getting to the free throw line. We didn't do a great job of not fouling versus Colorado. So, we got to make sure that we don't, get teams in a penalty, especially on the road. You can't really give away 3 points.
Coach, you mentioned ahead of last weekend that 4-guard lineup was effective, but in smaller doses. Has that sentiment kind of changed after last weekend?
It's still in play right now, certainly, and but Sean is going to get more playing time. I think the way Brian Salamangue played against Colorado has really bumped his stock in terms of what we think he could do. So we do have some bigger guys that we feel like we could go to some different lineups. But yeah, we're gonna roll with that lineup some, and then we'll have some flexibility with the way the bigger guys getting Sean back and then get Brian playing well.
Coach, you guys have been struggling at the free throw line lately. Is that a mental thing? How do you go about attacking that in practice, or after games talking to your team? How do you go about changing that?
Yeah, I think some of it is getting the right guys to the free throw line, but yeah, we're trying. I mean, we're trying to stress the importance of it and work on it in practice in different settings, different drills. We have in our conditioning drills, we go right to free throw shooting when guys are tired. We try and do all the things to kind of put them in a situation where it's game-like and hope that and just concentration. There was a lot of chatter maybe earlier in the year during free throws. We kind of talked to guys about concentrating more, but yeah, I think over time it will get fractionally better maybe at it. I think so. I'm just hopeful on that.
Finding diamonds in the rough, as you said, to what extent do you feel that is sustainable, or is that more of something that is what you need to do before sort of the NIL game is playing catch up?
You have to, I mean, we're going to be, as the season's starting to wind down, just really looking at a lot of college basketball, trying to scout almost the entire country and try and figure out, where there's value if players do go into the portal, and we're making sure that we can have a chance to come across those type of players if we can, and that's a part of the strategy, and then we just got to get better and with the NIL.
Coach, there was a time when you probably recruited a kid once out of high school, and now you're recruiting them even when they're on your roster for 4 or 5 years. How difficult is that?
I mean, it's a different world for sure, and I'm one that the way things have gone in the last 2 years, I believe as long as a kid has progress necessary towards graduation, degree progression, that at this point, every player after every year should be able to go wherever they want. That's the two-time transfer thing. Just that decision was made in court, and I think that's where things are headed. I mean, I'm not saying it exactly, but that would be my choice at this point. Let these guys decide what's best for them. Let the players decide if they want to be with people that they trust and they've had success working with, or if they want to find out if the grass is greener somewhere else. Or maybe it hasn't worked out. Why keep a kid somewhere in a place where things aren't working? Maybe he needs to find a new place to find success. So that's where I stand on it.
Yeah.
Coach,
Yeah.
you talked about a lot of the offensive strategy from Washington. Can you speak on kind of what they've done defensively, as they're really known for their zone, and how the three ball is going to have to really come into play here this upcoming game?
Yeah, this year they've played more man than zone. It's been a kind of a change with Coach Hopkins, but they certainly have that in their arsenal to go and play zone. So I don't know the exact breakdown, if it's 90-10. I think they played a little more zone lately, but we've prepared for both options. And they're good on defense, great rim protection with Mia around the basket. But they are a potent, offensive team.
Coach, facing a string of elite scorers in the conference like Brandon Carlson, KJ Simpson, now Keon Brooks, what are the challenges of containing those elite scorers and game planning for that?
Yeah, I mean, Brooks is a tough guard because he's got great size, he's physical, he could shoot over the defense, he attacks the paint, and how they, space their offense, they give him, the middle of the floor quite a bit to operate. So he's definitely a tough matchup. It's going to be not one guy. It's going to be a collective effort to try and slow him down if we can.
Is playing defense as much mental as it is physical?
I mean, I think it's will and obviously desire to want to play it. It's also, Coach Kimbrough has done a fantastic job since he's been here, designing game plans for our defense and encouraging our guys to play that end of the floor and the concepts that he's put in. So he's had a huge impact on the success we've had defensively the last couple of years.
Coach Keon talked about earlier with Jermaine, how important has he been, in sort of the maturation of this defense the last couple of games for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, he's my right-hand man. All the decisions that are made in the program are made, by myself and Coach Kimbrough. And, it's rare that I would make a decision that's of any significance without discussing it with him. And then he's just had such a fantastic background in coaching defense throughout his career that he knows it like the back of his hand. And it's the concepts and the switching and the peels and all the stuff that we do, the veers, things we do defensively are things that are taught, by him to the players on the practice floor.
After trailing in the first half on those road games and now getting out to these hot starts in the home games, how do you bring that momentum back on the road?
It's nice to see that we're able to play with a lead and play a more conventional game where we have some control of the game, and then someone else is trying to make a run at us. And then we were able to, even though Colorado cut into that 10-point lead we had in the second half, we had another response late. So it's good that, we're playing kind of different styles, and we're not just being pegged as this team that can only play when they're down double figures. So it was nice to see us for those two games do it differently.